Fort Knox, welcome back to my channel. Guess what today is? You know it, it is Friday, and that means that we had a new episode of The Real Housewives of New York City on Bravo, and you know what? I am so excited to review this because it is such an absolutely crazy episode. These women, they never disappoint simply because they are so crazy. But let's just go ahead and get right into it. The show opens with Tinsley, or Tinsdale, and her boxer trainer, whose name is Martin. But for me, he looks like Gary Busey. But I love him because he just is sort of like her life coach. He forces her to be honest with herself. And he is so just punching her in the face, and she's like, no, because it's Tinsley, of course. He's afraid of everything. As Dorinda says, she's afraid of a butterfly. But he is really good for Tinsley, I think, because he is just really just forcing her to, like I said, to be honest with herself. Dorinda says that she is done with Tinsley. They're on the High Line. And if you ever go to New York, you have to go to the High Line because it's just beautiful to see the city from that angle. And Leah says for someone who is not interested in Tinsley anymore, she spends a lot of time talking about Tinsley. And it is true. Dorinda spends a lot of time talking about Tinsley, and it's just like, she's almost like Kyle in Beverly Hills to Dorit and her glam. It's like what is your obsession here? But Dorinda is absolutely obsessed with Tinsley, and I think there's a deeper issue, which we will get into in just a second. Ramona thinks that Dorinda is jealous of Tinsley. I don't know that she's, maybe she's jealous of Tinsley, that Tinsley is still young enough to have what she used to have with Richard, and I think she really misses her old life. And but like I said last week, I think she really just wants Tinsley to be tough and wants her to be, you know, more like she is, and she just can't really identify with Tinsley in that way. Let's talk about Leah's apartment. Leah's apartment, I think, is cute because if you've ever been to a New York apartment, it is a very typical New York apartment. They're typically very small. It's not bad. It's not my type of decor, but it's not horrible. Luann is absolutely not impressed, and she's so shady in her confessional. In person, she's like, oh, this is nice, this is cute, look at the moldings, look at all the, you know, whatever. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. She, in her confessional, is just absolutely shady, but completely fake in person, and it's just kind of funny. She's, she says, I love how humble Leah is. And that is really, considering they're talking about her apartment, I think that's very much a read. It's really funny. But then they start talking about the fact that they have so much in common with, you know, alcohol and their past, like being arrested and all that stuff. So they're kind of kindred spirits. Luann, I do not think I said this before, Luann is not an alcoholic. She was just on probation, and that was caused by an alcohol. Maybe the judge thought she was an alcoholic and forced her to go to these Alcoholic Anonymous meetings. But I really don't feel like she is an alcoholic. I mean, maybe you guys have a different thought. Comment below if you think that she's an alcoholic. I really don't think she is. She has proven already that she can handle herself around alcohol and not get out of control. I think it's just the fact that when someone tells you that you can't do something, then it's sort of like, I really, 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 really want to do it. And, you know, it's even more tempting because she might get in trouble for it. But she doesn't have the ankle monitor on anymore, so that's all over. Dorinda broke up with John. And you know, it's really funny because I never really saw them together long-term anyway, but somehow it makes it onto page 6. I think this was edited out, but you can see if you read between the lines that they think that Sonia leaked it to page 6. She's like, who would put this on page 6? You put it on page 6, because how else would they know about your breakup? Like, come on. She's like, do you think Ramona did this? No, you leaked it to page 6 yourself, but whatever. She says that that her expectations have grown and that she loves him. He'll always have a seat at her table. But John was there when Richard died for her. And, you know, basically Dorinda outgrew him. And I understand what that is, but it does kind of seem like she was just kind of using him. That doesn't really probably feel good to him. He didn't want to break up with Dorinda, but she's just like, it's time for her to move on. Now everyone is single. Now this is what is so interesting to me, because the show is The Real Housewives of New York. But think about it. Hardly anyone on the majority of the seasons has ever been either in a relationship or had a husband. None of them are real wives. It's one of the only franchises where everyone across the board is single and no one else has a man. Even when Bethany was there, it's just really interesting to me that none of them are wives anymore. And it's funny how it all started out. But I don't care if they're wives or not. They are enough for me as far as the content that they bring to the show. Amazing. Luann decides that they need to go on a quick getaway, just, you know, to get Dorinda, you know, in better spirits and everything. She decides they need to go to a quick getaway. They're going to go to an orchard that has hay rides and a corn maze and all this other stuff. And Sonia claims that she is excited to have a healthy day, which is really funny to me, because you'll see why it's funny to me. But if you watch the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because Sonia has been on this like fast or cleanse or whatever it is that she's doing, but she is she's just like, I just want to have a healthy day. Not happening, because they decide to have breakfast wine. And if you've never had breakfast wine is amazing. It's the same thing as regular wine. It's just you having it at breakfast. So Tinsley's like, yeah, breakfast wine. If you've ever had breakfast wine or breakfast vodka or breakfast tequila, breakfast whatever, especially on a vacation, breakfast drinking is amazing. But yeah, so they're having breakfast wine. And so they're sitting at the table and they're going to have lunch. And Elise, with her old instigating ass, Elise with her old instigating ass, brings up John. And I'm guessing that the producers put Elise up to this. It's like, you got to contribute something to this girl. She is messy and she is shady and she is the one that brings up, you know, things like this a lot. But it's just kind of interesting to me. I really feel like the producers put her up to this because she really has nothing to contribute. I don't know why Elise is here. This is a show that doesn't need friends to the show, and she doesn't seem to be contributing really anything. And she's terrified of Dorinda, but decides to bring up the breakup with John, and nobody else wanted to bring it up. So okay, fine, here, let her bring it up. Dorinda starts explaining what happened, and this is where Tinsley makes her mistake. Well, she makes several mistakes here, but the first mistake that Tinsley makes is she whispers under her breath instead of standing in her conviction and being like, you know, she whispers under her breath, and then in her confessional decides that she wants to be very vocal about it and just like, I'm calling BS. This is BS. Like she this is a double standard. She's a hypocrite. She calls her a total hypocrite. Why can't you do this to her face? See, Dorinda's the type of girl that you say this to her face and she might start to respect you a little bit, but she's not respecting you. If you're just kind of whispering it underneath your breath. Dorinda goes off on Tinsley. She's just like, my gum lasts longer than your relationships. My gum lasts longer. And Tinsley's like, what? What are you talking about? Like totally clueless, doesn't know what she's talking about. But in her confessional is just completely bold. She calls Tinsley invisible. Dorinda calls Tinsley invisible. And then Elise chimes in. It's just like, after she started all of this, it's just like, can't you guys say one nice thing about each other? Like, say something nice about each other. Dorinda's like, no, absolutely not. I'm not saying anything about her that's nice. Like, I can't do it. Ramona thinks that Dorinda uses Tinsley as her punching bag because she's going through all this stuff, but she's just like, you know, Tinsley is basically her punching bag. But then Tinsley decides to go off. She goes off, and I'm like, finally, she's going off. But the problem is when she starts going off, the other girls chime in. They don't let Tinsley and Dorinda have their moment. This might be a moment where, like I said, Dorinda would start to respect Tinsley. But the girls don't let her have that. They all have to chime in. Sonia's chiming in and all this stuff. And it's just, Tinsley's just going off and she is just pissed off. And she's like, they won't even let me speak. And Ramona makes the comment in her confessional that like, oh, it's hard to take Tinsley serious. She has that high-pitched voice, like that little whatever. Someone once told me a long time ago that, you know, Lori, when you have to really like check somebody, lower your tone. It's much more effective than heighten it, because it's like they really start to respect you. When you start getting hyper and high and yelling and screaming and all this other stuff, nobody's listening to what you're saying, because then they start doing it too. And then Luann says, you do it like Obama does. Like, he talks very soft and low, and you really tone like very calm, whatever. But this is the second mistake that Tinsley makes. It's like you did all of that and then you start crying. Girl, nobody is... Oh my God, with these tears, I don't know what it is that happens that they just start crying. It's like you can't just go off and be bold like that and then start crying. It's the same thing that Kyle did, again, in Beverly Hills. And it's just like, no, stand in your conviction. If you're going to be like bold like that, don't just all of a sudden break down crying. But speaking of breakdowns, Dorinda breaks down and she's like, like, I did everything right, and I can't believe that, this is my life that I have to live now. She becomes hysterical, and absolutely, like, now I'm starting to feel like this is not about Tinsley. This is about the life that you thought you were going to have. This is about you went through all this stuff, and it's just like, why can't I catch a break? Like, it's just not what she thought her life would be. But it's like Leah said in her confessional, what did all this have to do with Tinsley? Like, which lets me believe that your issues with Tinsley have not much to do with Tinsley. They have a lot to do with you and your own life and how you see yourself. So basically that's the problem with Dorinda. She goes off and whatever, and they end up going away to do other activities. And this is the thing about Leah. I told you guys before, I absolutely love Leah. I love, love, love Leah. But Leah, for me, is that badass kid in school who forced you to be cool. Like, just forced you to just absolutely be cool. By way of peer pressure, though. She's like, go ahead, climb a tree. Like, we don't care that we're at these people. Go ahead, let's jump in naked. Let's take all the tiki torches out. Remember that? And that's why I love her, because she is that badass that's just like, yeah, all the cool kids are doing it. Come on, yeah, climb that tree, drink that wine. We are underage, who cares? But that's what she reminds me of, and those girls grew up to be Leah. Now it's time for the hayride, and Sonia is a drunk mess. Now remember, Sonia said she wanted a healthy day. Well, that's not what's happening now. Sonia is a drunk ass mess. So much for a healthy day. Day drinking Sonia is flirting and inappropriate. She's flirting with the owner of the place. Just absolutely a hot mess. And it gets even worse as the day goes on. But they go through this corn maze, and they are peeing in the corn maze. It's Leah and Sonia decide that they have to go to the bathroom so bad because, all this day drinking, it's time to pee. Well, here's the thing. The corn was dry as hell anyway. Like, this corn was absolutely a hot mess. Like, when you look at the corn, so it looked like it needed to be saturated anyway. So, I mean, maybe the people won't be that mad at them. But the corn is just burnt up to me by the sun. Leah says there are two Sonias. There's Mrs. Morgan, and then there's Turnip Sonia. Where Turnip Sonia is vulgar, and she is messy. She is just absolutely a hot mess. They get to the wine tasting, and she says that that the wine should be used as lubricant. I'm starting to think that Sonia is the actual person with the alcohol problem. I've said this before. I said this last season. I think that she's the one that has the alcohol problem. And then the conversation somehow gets on penises. And they start talking about that. And Luann is like, don't send me a dick pic. Like, Luann says, and I love this analogy, she says that she does not like to shop online. She likes to shop in person. And sending her a dick pic is like shopping online. Sonia says that Tinsley that will do anything. She'll sleep with anybody. They start talking about small dicks. She's like, she'll do anything for a bracelet. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, is that true? I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Sonia is a nympho and alcoholic. Tell me what you think about that too. And then the episode ends. That's just the madness behind these girls. They don't really even need a subject matter. All they just put some drinks in front of them and let them argue, and it's entertaining as hell. Tell me what you think about this episode. Do you think that Dorinda is too hard on Tinsley? Do you think that Tinsley needs to have more of a backbone? Do you think that Dorinda is going through some more changes that have nothing to do with her issues with Tinsley? Do you love Leah? Whatever. Do you think that Luann's alcoholic? Comment below. Subscribe to my channel. I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Bye.